I'm Thandiwe, and I did 4 years of fine arts in Michaela School of Fine Art in Cape Town. And I majored in photography, and I did that for 2 years. And I had an exhibition last year, which was like a group exhibition with my whole class, and I produced a body of work called Bacha. And in the same year, I received a TNE fellowship, which is like a really international, so it was really exciting. And that literally really got me through in that it got me through the funding wise, and it got me thinking about producing a body of work that continues beyond school. Bacha is a Xhosa term meaning new men, and these are men that have come back from the mountain. They're also known as amakwala or initiates, but they go to the mountain for a month and then they come back. When they've come back, they're dressed in certain kind of clothing, like a hat and a blazer and a suit, and they wear this for 6 months, and in that state they're called amakwala or putabacha. So when they're out of that state, they are men, like they are normal people, but in that state it's almost like a period of transit, and in that state they're called amakwala or putabacha.
From what I know, there aren't many women artists that use men as their subjects or as their participants. So what made you actually want to go into that subject matter?
Actually quite an interesting question, because I had a workshop earlier, and there were Xhosa guys, 2 Xhosa guys, and they were saying that there aren't a lot of women who deal with initiation because it is kind of like a taboo being a woman to deal with that kind of stuff. And at the beginning they felt offended by the fact that I was a woman and I was going into their territory, but after they understood the project, it kind of made them easy. And I think as well, walking into the project, I knew that I was working in a very patriarchal male kind of district domain, and hence I took a bit of a step back. I was more interested in the clothing. Because growing up, I grew up seeing amakwala, and I grew up seeing them wearing, because they used to wear tweeds and kind of brown, very subdued colors, and over time it's changed. They've become more dandy-like and more stylish. And I think for me, I was questioning and interested in that change, and I don't know, it's just been more dandy and fashionable and less cultural. That was my first impression. But when I got to know and understand the culture, I realized that they were influenced by the colonials, and the clothing was kind of like a British way of wearing. And it was I remember thinking in the end, basically my idea of a man, what Xhosa man is signified by British way of what men are. So yeah, so that was me interrogating more of the history of the clothing and where it came from and what it's doing now, more than the actual going to the bush. And that wasn't for me. I find that we're quite exotic, and it's been overdone, and it's kind of killed the culture in a way, and it's just really unnecessary. And you find people that aren't even part of that culture coming from the outside, and they are the other, and they continue to other people, and it really just exposes things that are unnecessary. So I was very aware of my line as a woman, and I wanted to pay respect as well and give this man dignity, because in the whole series I try to allow them to own the space and kind of just take back that image, because it's a very horrible image of the black man. Like, ask anybody, in fact the color black, when you think the color black, you just think of the worst things. I try exactly all those connotations. I just wanted to find a way that not only was I talking about initiation, but also reclaiming the black body.
Recently I was talking to someone, and they said that it's so important for young South Africans, young black South Africans, to actually tell our own stories. And I just wanted to know, like, why is art one of the best ways to do that? Yeah.
I think art is the best way to tell that story because it creates images, or visual art in particular, and it's those images that we learn from and we construct society values from. Because an image is very powerful. Once an image stays into your head, that becomes reality. For example, if you look at art history, the image of the black man has been created to be this barbarian. And if you look back, there's an image painting called Olympia. And that painting is a black woman. She's standing behind a white woman, and she's portraying flowers. And the flowers are more a subject of focus than she is. She's almost like blending in the background. And that's an image that was created. And that generation of art creation and black creation has kind of bled into the society now, because we still continue to reconstruct the same image. And what kind of message is that sending? Those images are very powerful. So that's why I think art plays an important role in retelling history, because we're reconstructing images that were constructed by other people for us. That's why it's so important, especially as visual artists, to start recreating the image of the black person. And who best to tell it but I, the black woman, right? The black person, because I know better. I understand better. So my visual language and most artists, like you're saying, are in a process of trying to recreate the image and redefining the black image. I'm very interested in teaching and working around education, especially in the townships, because there isn't a lot of art in the townships. And where I come from, in the Cape Flats, we have 2 schools that teach art in the Cape Flats. Kailicha, Makaza, a school called Krisani, and the second school is in, I think it's called Cedar, in the Mitchell's Plain. 2 schools that have visual arts. And I feel like, if anything, those are spaces that art should be living in. Because in society, so much happens, especially in the ghetto, and kids need to express. And nowadays, they express through drugs and experimenting through other things. And I think that art is a platform for that. So I'm really interested in that domain. But also as an artist as well, I feel like my visual images can have a bigger impact and a broader context. So I think being a teacher sometimes is kind of confined in a space and in a school. And I think becoming an artist, you're reaching a broader audience. But I think those two I'll always be in that space, the educator and the artist. And so that is kind of vaguely the future.
Would you say, like, just in terms of even choosing art as a career, like, because a lot of people think that there's a huge risk in it and they don't understand that you could do something with it and how it's important.
You know what, now when it comes to art is like a calling. And my mother is a really good friend of mine called Simpiwe Nzube. And when my mother first saw Simpiwe, he was like, he has that thing for art. And I think that's what art is. It's like a calling. And it's really difficult because society has taught us a very different, another thing, going back to images. We know the image of the artist. We know the image of the artist selling work on the side of the street. That's an image that's been replayed over and over and over again. And I think that at the moment, can you count how many artists have come out of that 21 years? So that shows there's a big gap. And there's space for those young artists. So these images replay in our minds of the artists selling, I don't know if they're relevant anymore. And I think we should start, as young artists, as young people, we should start taking art as an entrepreneur type thing. You are your own business and you market yourself, and I think that's another thing that people lack. We think, I'm just going to make art. No, it doesn't work like that. And I think, like any business, if you want to start a business, you start with an idea and you grow that and you work your way up. So and I think as young people who want to get into art, you should start thinking of art in that way. As something that you start and you build yourself up and you grow. And you know that, like any business, it's not going to be easy. You are going to hustle, It's not like a fixed job where you are done studying and you're not going to walk into a job. You're going to have to work your way up. And I think that's the kind of mentality that a young person should be thinking about. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. How amazing is that? It's like, I'm going to be a boss lady. I'm going to create. And that's something I find that very beautiful about arts, because we're so lucky like that, because unlike everybody else, we're not like, okay, I want to find a job. No, we are creators. We are the bosses. And like, I know many artists really struggle working under somebody else, because that's not our nature. Our nature is to create our own ideas and follow our own ideas and not be fixed. So I think a message to young people is that you're your own boss. That's a great thing, and it's not easy. It is a hustle, but in the end of the day, I think one must always remember that you are your own boss as an artist, and that's the greatest gift ever. Because not everybody is an artist. There are a few creators out there, and you have the gift to create and be your own boss, and not have to follow others and work for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think,